Good morning.
Good morning.
Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay, so I looked and I see that up front it says the radiant power within. And what went out in the bulletin was the radiant power within. And I thought, oh, that's a different word. I'm not doing that talk. Because that talk, radiant, is about mathematics and about trigonometry, and I studied all that stuff a long time ago, and I've forgotten more than I knew about it, so I can't tell you anything about that. But today we're going to talk about the radiant power within, and it is the radiance of within each and every one of us. We are born with it. It doesn't come, it's not something that we have to hunt for or whatever. We're born with it, but we have to learn how to use it. So within this is concentration, self-mastery, and spiritual authority. We're going to be talking about spiritual power today, not the power that the world thinks of as having control of others, being looked up and worshipped, or so forth. But it's the power that is within us. And Charles Fillmore, the co-founder, taught that every person carries this divine potential within, waiting to be awakened through spiritual understanding and disciplined practice. It doesn't just happen. We need to focus on it. So in the world today, many people just feel scattered and distracted and overwhelmed by the demands of the world that we're in. We're talking sometimes between some of us of, did we ever expect to be doing some of the things that we're doing today in this world? My niece asked me the other day, I don't even remember what I told her I was going to be doing. Oh, I know, I told her I was using AI a little bit, and she said, look at you, when you were little, did you ever think that you would be using AI something? I'm like, heck no, most of the stuff I've done in my life, I never thought that I was ever do. It was the important stuff at any rate. So it was kind of fun. So a lot of us feel scattered, and we're pulled in all different countless directions. And when our attention is divided, our power becomes diffused. So think about that. When your attention gets divided, your power, your inner power comes diffused. But we teach here that concentration is more than mental focus. It's the gathering together of spiritual energy. So it's not just focus, it's gathering the spiritual energy within and around us. It's more than self-control. It's the alignment of our humanness with our divine self. And true authority is not dominion over others, which is what we see so often today. People think that they have to be over others in order to have power. It's a radiant authority that comes from knowing who we are in God, or who God or presence is within us. So it's a lot more than just what is on the surface. So we teach here that there is one presence and power, active and available to us. But the true power is internal. It's not from the outside. And we really hunger today in this world for not only for peace, but for inner strength. It takes inner strength today to be who we really are in the world. And here in Unity, we teach that we're not victims of the outer conditions. Sometimes I think with all that's going on, we feel like we're a victim, that we can't help anything, that everything's happening to us, it's coming fast and furiously, we don't even have time to think about it, it just happens. But within each of us is a radiant spiritual power, the power to direct our thoughts, master ourselves, and stand in spiritual authority. And that is power. Some of us know, some of us are new maybe, and we don't know all of the Unity teachings, but one of the main ones is that our thoughts are creative. and that where our attention goes, energy flows. If we think about it that way, when our thoughts become hard to keep on the spiritual side, and we just allow it to go wherever it wants, we're letting our thoughts take us places we don't really want to go. We don't really want to be in that place of our minds going crazy with what's going on in the world. It sounds simple, but it's really a very spiritual discipline. And that's one of our principles, is that we learn the truth, but it doesn't do us any good if we don't put it into practice in our lives. All these truths that we learn, that we're human and divine, and that there's one presence, and that our energy flows wherever our thoughts are thinking, it's taking our energy there. All those things, if they're just words that we say, it's pretty meaningless. It's not going to change our life. It's not going to help us with whatever situation we find ourselves in. We have to learn to use it. And most people don't think about what they're thinking. They're not aware of it. They just react to circumstances. And the circumstances in our world today says, look at fear, look at limitation, look at conflict. But the spiritually awakened person learns to choose where to place attention. I don't want to place my attention on fear and conflict. That's not where I want to be in my mind. And our way shower Jesus demonstrated this in the midst of storms and crowds and oppositions and chaos. He remained in his divine awareness. There's a story in the Bible most of you have heard, just a little story about when Peter walked on the water, when Jesus and the disciples, a few of them were out in the boat and the storm came, and Peter wanted to walk on the water, and Jesus told him, yeah, you can do that. So he got out of the boat and he started walking on the water. But then when the storms came, he got scared. He went in his mind to being frightened, and he started to sink. So the moment he focused on the winds and the waves, fear overcame him. The moment we focus on some of the things that are happening in our world today, fear can overcome us. That same thing is true for us. But if we continue to concentrate on lack and limitation, we concentrate on resentment, then we will grow our resentment and our bitterness. But when we concentrate on the divine possibility, healing, wisdom, and love, we awaken those realities within ourselves. I have a little tiny story about me learning about this. Some of you know I've been in Al-Anon for quite a few years. And there was this story that really impressed me early on, and it was a woman talking about how she felt bitterness and resentment towards her mother. Because when she was little, whenever they'd go to the grocery store, and she loved carrots, and her mother would take all this time and spend all this time picking through the big, juicy-looking carrots to this child, and pick out the littlest, scrawniest carrots. And she was always disappointed. She was always hoping that her mother would pick those big, delicious-looking ones. And she carried bitterness and resentment into her adult life because she didn't get what she wanted when she was a kid. And one day, she and her mother were talking, and she had the opportunity to ask her or tell her, you know, I always wanted those big juicy carrots, and you always took so much time to get the little scrawny ones. And her mother said, I wanted you to have the sweetest carrots. I wanted you to have the most tender, sweetest carrots. And so that bitterness, the way she was looking at it, caused bitterness. But when she changed her attitude, when she changed where she was putting her attention, she and her mother could get healed and get together. And so it is with us. Each one of us probably has people, places, things that we may have some bitterness about. but we can change that if we start looking at it from a different perspective. Concentration is spiritual power collected into a single beam, like sunlight passing through a magnifying glass. Diffused light warms, but focused light ignites. Now, I also remember when I was a kid, I went to camp, and one of the things we did at that one camp was we went out on hikes and found pieces of bark, and then found some moss, and made sort of like a winter garden, but it was just on the bark. And then they gave us these magnifying glasses, and it was a sunny day, and showed us how to take the magnifying glass, which focused the light in a much higher way, and we could actually start a fire with that. So it probably wasn't so good of an idea for some of us, they didn't teach us the principle behind it. But thinking about this, when we bring our focus to the truth, we're bringing our focus and we're helping our light to shine. So thinking about this, what are we igniting with our attention? Well, every prayer is an act of concentration. Every meditation is an act of concentration. And every affirmation is an act of concentration. When we sit and affirm, I am one with divine mind, we are training our consciousness to be aligned with truth. And so that's where we start. Concentration leads to self-mastery, because as we concentrate and focus, we become aware of our thoughts. We don't just let them be scattered. So concentration leads to self-mastery. And self-mastery is something that every religious organization teaches self-mastery, and even just ordinary, we've heard of going away apart for a while and going to Walden Pond and getting to know ourselves. It's the capacity to guide our thoughts, words, and actions in integrity with our infinite self, instead of reacting only from human egoic impulses. We know ourselves, respect ourselves, and we respect others. We don't fool ourselves, but we're open to tell ourselves the truth of our own selves. And by doing this, we become aware of who we are. And that's one of the things that we need for self-mastery. We need to know who we are, how we respond, what things are just automatic thinking, and what things are, I think the word we use today is critical thinking. What things are, what we're aware of, what we're seeing. Concentration naturally leads to self-mastery. And self-mastery doesn't mean suppression. It doesn't mean becoming rigid or emotionless. It means that spirit governs our life instead of our impulses and fears or appearances. Unity teaches that we are spiritual beings expressing through mind and body. We are not victims of our emotions, habit, or circumstances. And how many of us have in the past, or maybe are doing it now, at feeling a victim of what's happening? The Apostle Paul said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Those of you that come a lot know that that is one of the tenets of unity. It's over one of the chapels down at the village. So that's a big important part. Self-mastery begins with inner awareness. We begin noticing what thoughts dominate me, what emotional patterns rule me, emotional patterns that maybe are from when we were very young, or maybe we picked them up, and what fears keep repeating ourselves. That's what self-mastery can do for us. Many of us try to change outer conditions without transforming our inner consciousness, but that's not going to work. Self-mastery means we no longer allow anger to dictate our actions. How many of us react from anger and do something just in the moment that we wish we hadn't done. And words said can never be taken back. They're out there now. We no longer allow worry to consume our peace. How many of us worry with what's going on in the world or in our families or in our lives? Spend a lot of time worrying. That just depletes our energy. Jesus, again, our way shower, demonstrated the mastery in many ways. When he was criticized, he remained centered. When betrayed, he remained loving. And when facing the cross, he remained surrendered to the divine purpose. So the self-mastery takes us to the power of authority, the power of spiritual authority, not authority necessarily over things of the world, but authority over our own self. The world misunderstands authority. Human authority usually depends on status, force, or control. And that's what we think. But our authority really depends on our spiritual purpose, our spiritual place. And each one of us has that authority within us. As I said in the beginning, we're born with it. We've just forgotten that we have it because we've been influenced by what the world shows us as authority. When we forget that we have this spiritual authority, when we forget this, we shrink ourselves. We think we're not good enough or we're not big enough. We become intimidated by appearances, and we feel powerless before circumstances. But spiritual authority restores the remembrance. We begin affirming, I'm a child of God. Divine wisdom guides me. The Christ within me is greater than any conditions before me. There are not any empty affirmations. They are declarances of authority. So I'm going to give you a little illustration that when we learn how to focus, as we have learned how to focus, and we begin to master ourselves, we begin to know ourselves, we begin to learn how to not react like we've reacted every time before in the same situation. We just do something different. It doesn't necessarily have to be something hard. We do something different. See if that works. If that doesn't work, so the next time we do something different again. It's something that we work on through our whole lives. It's not just a once and done thing. So here's an illustration of what I'm talking about. The wind, imagine a lighthouse during a storm. The winds rage, the waves crash. Darkness surrounds the coast. But the lighthouse doesn't chase the storm. It doesn't argue with the darkness. It simply stands grounded and shines. This is spiritual authority. Concentration keeps the light focused. Self-mastery keeps the structure steady. Authority allows the light to guide the others safely home. And in difficult times, the world desperately needs spiritual lighthouses. The world needs people who are calm amid the chaos, people who speak hope instead of fear, and people whose lives radiate faith. Unity teachings invite us to become such people. So as we go out today, I suggest that you maybe remember, maybe some things have come up to you in your mind while I've been talking, but know that within you, if you're willing to be open and work for it, is that spiritual power which you can demonstrate in your own life. And it just in your own world. We can't all be the Dalai Lama or Buddha or whatever, but what we do in our own world as we allow this light to shine and as we allow ourselves to become more of a shine, of a light, or putting our light on the table outside. People are attracted to that and will be willing to wake up themselves. Thank you.
All right, let's bless our speaker. We love you.